imagine if only half of the members of parliament would pick up an issue of corruption and follow it through and publish it on both sides of the house. So whatever anybody has done, whether it's in your party or some other party, so we can take the plunderers, the selfish, the greedy, and the imbeciles out of the system, we will have better governance. And then there's the presidency, the appointing authority. Now, interestingly, the ministers are no longer part of the legislature. And you know why? Because once you are appointed as a minister, you serve at the pleasure and direction of the president. That is not what an MP does. And that is why I think this whole idea of selecting your ministers from parliament is an issue. So people are dancing so they can catch the eye of the president so they can be made a minister. And once they're made a minister, they lose their ability to criticize any thievery in government. Show me any minister who has criticized thievery whilst their government was in power.
Welcome back on the AM show. We get into that conversation with the king himself, Kwasi Kyei Darkwah, and he joins us this morning. He's a man of many things. He wears many hats, and you know, when he comes around, there's a lot of hard talk that we have. And he's a patriot as well. He joins me on the conversation. Memoachi, thanks for joining us.
What you're saying.
Is that a porcupine on your finger this morning?
Asante kotoko ukuma pimwa apimbeba. That is
okay.
The Asante kingdom. Many peoples have come together to form one collective. And if you touch one, you touch all of them. I speak not of Asante this morning. I speak of Ghana, my motherland. 6 major ethnic groups, plus their many subsets, were unified by someone who sought to lead a country called Ghana. And together we must stand as one, or we must fall individually like little skinny sticks of the broom.
The last time we had a conversation, there was a lot to chew on in terms of different dynamics in government, our governance structures, policy, and to some extent, the duplicity of some of our political leaders. But today we're going to have a conversation focused more on lies and greed, the politics of lies and greed, and what they are bringing to the fore. But every time you come, I do try to find out from you, between the last time and now, what are some of the things you've observed out there in respect of our motherland, Ghana?
There is so much hunger that people are selling their birthrights for porridge like Esau and Jacob. There is so much desperation that young people who have the opportunity to educate themselves to gain skills and competencies will rather travel anywhere else and work as the lowliest laborers. There is so much pent-up anger, but so little courage for the wise amongst us to speak up. And there is so much arrogance in those we have elevated into positions of fleeting authority to serve us, that they thumb their noses at the public and don't give a hoot no matter what the people say. Every time taxes are introduced by any government, they introduce them for the betterment of the country. But if you're paying more taxes and you're receiving worse services, you must ask yourself, why am I paying these? Whether you're going to the hospital, whether you're going to buy an air ticket, whether you're going to buy yam in the market. Why have we put so many taxes on goods and services in this country, but we haven't improved service, especially from the public sector to the populace? It is very worrisome, very, very worrisome. And then you talked about duplicity, so beautiful. There's a book I read a while ago, Diplomacy and Duplicity, and the lies that the people that we ask to represent us at home and abroad tell, not just for the purpose of guarding state, but for the purpose of enriching themselves. really, really sad. And we have to think that we are citizens of a nation and we have given these people employment. Because the politician comes to seek employment just like the mortician or the electrician. But once you employ him, you must constantly look at what he is doing so that you hired him, you can also fire him. Individually, you may not be able to fire him, but collectively you can. And really, I want to call every Ghanaian to action. An educated, keenly interested, and well-informed citizenry abreast of community and national issues is crucial in holding leaders and politicians accountable for their words and actions. And I say leaders, and then I say politicians, because not all leaders are politicians, as you know, and not all politicians are leaders. It saddens me that you and I have to tell the young that our politicians lie a lot, some by commission and some by omission. What do we want to do about it?
What's the latest lie you've heard from the corridors of the powerful and the political? What's the latest one you've heard?
Too many, but at this point, taking any single one and stating it means giving their opponent an advantage because it's political season. So I will ask the viewers, publish the lies that you have heard from politicians. Put them on Joy News. Put them beneath this program as commentary. And let's start looking at it and saying, if people tell these lies for political advantage so they can get into power, should we maintain them if they don't also prosecute? Now, let me give you one of the oldest lies, rather. A dear friend of mine's father died, and before he died, he said he had a confession to make, and he needed to say this because it's burning his heart. This man was a great artist and cartoonist named Ghanaians. And he said he had been threatened on the point of actual bodily harm. In fact, gross bodily harm, to make a cartoon presenting Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah as somebody worshipping some gods called Kankai Nyame, to start with. It's either the nation is all so stupid or so gullible that we can believe that somebody who worships their God will call their own God a stinking God. So he made this cartoon. And that is how many Ghanaians started saying Kwame Nkrumah had a God called Kankai Nyame and was sacrificing people to him. But Ghanaians made this confession before he died, that he was threatened on point of gross bodily harm to make that cartoon. His son is alive. I spoke to his son just 2 weeks ago. And I said, do you know about this? He says, well, he knows about this from family, that his dad was threatened. So in the same way, there are people being threatened in public offices to do evil against the nation, just so the people who have appointed them can benefit. But the lies are many. Let's look at this government, President Akufo-Addo. People lied about him. Some said he didn't even go to law school. Well, if you don't go to law school and you serve an apprenticeship, you can still practice law.
Back then, when that was still possible.
Back then, when that was still possible.
That is no longer the case.
Yes.
But back then, when it was happening.
So when people say that, you see, the lie is subtle. They make it look like he has received no training at all and has practiced. So that, whoever said it, lied. In the same way, people said, former President Mahama had hotels in Dubai. 7 years on, where are the people who said those things? They lied. And they used it to gain some advantage. They are still enjoying those advantages. But who is calling them to be responsible for the lies they told? So the Ghanaian populace cannot just sit back whilst people come and lie to gain power. And after they gain power, they go silent. We need to get to a point where, like the Welsh government has decided to do now, they are working on an act that will make it such that any politician who lies, public servant in high office who lies, is banned from public service for life. In Ghana, being banned from public service for life is not enough, because if they have stolen enough through their unethical deals, through their nepotism and cronyism, if you ban them, they still go home and live well. We must look at the possibility of enacting something on our law books so that those who lie in high office, those who lie in positions of public authority, actually go to jail.
Would that not be stretching it? I don't know where, yes, you talk about this Welsh bit. I'm yet to read about it, but people could inadvertently lie. There could be people who would say something on some front and not necessarily mean to deceive people. I mean, and even you would hear about the oddity of black lies and white lies and all of that. But wouldn't it be stretching it if
it is not
you were to say, oh, you have lied in public office and so you deserve jail? People lie everywhere, every day.
The difference between the carpenter making one chair who lies is that he leaves nails to stick in the bums of everybody who sits on the chair. But the politician who lies takes away from an entire nation. Look, there are different professions. Like I said, there's the electrician, there's the mortician, there's the politician, there's the architect, there's the doctor, there's the nurse. People must choose the professions for which they have skills and competencies and also have the humanity to practice. Some people are intelligent, brilliant. They choose to play football. They don't choose to be an auditor. Because if you choose to be an auditor, you need to work in a situation where wherever you go, you ensure the control environment is as clean as the politics of Singapore. And if you can't do it, go into another profession. People are importers. People are drug dealers. People are TV producers. Choose the profession where you can practice. Don't go into the profession where you're going to harm people. Why is it that if a doctor does something egregious, the medical council can stop him from practicing as a doctor? But a politician does something egregious, he can continue. And even if he has stolen in a previous government, when the government he serves or the party he serves comes back, he gets yet another position again. There are some over 31 million people in Ghana. If one of you is a liar, which eventually leads to thievery, because all deceit leads to greater and worse things, and you know that this person has lied, just because they have come to say, I'm sorry, it's not enough. Accept their apology, but don't let them lead any public office again. Unless they are leading the desilting of gutters and taking out the dirt from, waterways, under the keen supervision of a no-nonsense brigadier.
Now, if you look at our law books, there's no such thing as suffering a jail term for lying. In fact, for every crime, there must be a commensurate punishment. And it must be stipulated in the law what exactly the crime is. There's nothing like that.
This is what I'm advocating for.
I agree. But I am saying, legislating on something like this, that if you are in political office and you lie, and some may say this is quite a stretch. If you look at a society like Japan, there are certain things, and I may add South Korea, unfortunately, some people have taken their own lives on the back of certain happenings. The reason being shame.
It's the culture.
Shame.
It's the culture.
Stigma.
It's the culture.
You can call it the culture. Is that not what we ought to tackle? Such that we create a society where if you do X, Y, Z, you have named and shamed yourself. It's not about going to jail or facing any punishment or something of the sort. Shouldn't we? Is that not what our focus should be? Rather than say we're going to legislate so that if you are found to have told a lie, how will we even determine that? It's a very gray area.
It will always be the wise proposing something for providence and the nation discussing it and saying, if we want our politics to be clean, if we want our leadership to be up and doing, we must expect better character from them than the people they serve, because the people will take a cue from them. Can you imagine if the leaders in every office in Ghana were neat and tidy and ensured that no dirt was thrown around? How easy it would be for them to ensure that those who throw dirt around would be punished? But if they themselves are filthy and squalid, how are they going to be in a place where they can call other people to order? Let's think about this. We cannot expect our leadership to be worse than the public. And for the purpose of this discussion, I know some people
leadership must set the example.
I know some people, the fish rots from the head. I know some people who accept that they are no good, who will start by saying, oh, but the leaders come from the people, so the leaders will be as bad as the people. Not true. The leaders come from the people, but the leaders must be the best elements of the people.